So this is the very first full fuselage for HX50, and the cameras won't do it justice. It is absolutely massive. We promised you that we were going to design a proper helicopter, and that when you bought your helicopter and when you flew your helicopter and when you were around your helicopter, it would feel like a proper helicopter. And this really does. So we're presenting it here today with all of its cowls off. It hasn't got any of the engine bay covers on or anything, no doors, but even so, the lines are exquisite, and you can really start to see that we've delivered on what we said we were going to deliver. I know some people out in the public have bemoaned the fact that by the time we get through development, it won't look like that. The images that we created and we put out as part of our marketing campaign were taken from the same CAD models that we built the patterns and tools and designed the structure around. So what you see is what you get. So Airframe 1 was very much about making sure we could use Infusion to be able to develop cost-effective composite aerostructures for HX50. That's key to unzipping the power of composites at a price point that GA can afford. So this first fuselage was very much about, can we stick the dry carbon fiber into the molds, can we hold it in place, and then can we distribute the resin around the mold effectively? We did that, and then with the second airframe, we moved on to try and improve the detail in the molding. So trying to resolve things like edge details, and starting to look at how we template and how we position the foams and the B surfaces into the mold. The third airframe then allowed us to perfect that process on the outer skin. So by the time we'd got to the third one, we're resolving the edge details and all the intricacies of the carbon structure to production standards. And then with Airframe 4, that was where we were due to bring all of the elements together. So let's go back and have a look at what we did with Airframe 4. So Airframe 4 really brought absolutely everything together, everything that you needed to have a high quality, low cost aerostructure. So all the edge details were in, all the foam cores were in, all the metallic inserts were in, the B surfaces were in there that give the structure its strength and its stiffness, and then it was about perfecting the infusion control. All the edge details, the cores and the metallics were in there, and we really refined the production processes to deliver what is a near perfect molding. And what we found when we got this out of the tool was this airframe is incredibly light. The whole monolage with everything in there, the foam cores, the metallics, everything you need to attach all the mechanical components and whatnot is just 50 kilos. Now, obviously it will put on more weight. We've got to bond in some internal panels to make the floors and the fuel tank closures. We've got to put doors and windows on it, but we are on track for weight, we are on track for performance, and we're now able to produce these moldings very, very cost effectively and very, 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 very quickly, even without yet implementing the automation that will be used in production. One of the areas that we've been keen to excel in is making sure that we exceed all of our customers' expectations in terms of the presentation of the aircraft. And lighting is one of the major areas that we need to excel in to deliver this. So what we're looking at here is the nose cluster, which sits in the very front of the airframe behind the windshield. At the top of that cluster, it presents a 3D form of the Hill badge, and then below that you've got your dual focus long range and short range landing lights, which work in sympathy with the wingtip lights that provide a broader, steeper coverage. Henry's been extremely busy over the course of the last couple of months refining this, fitting it in with the structural design of the aircraft, and working with Hayden, our optical specialist, to make sure that all of these lights are fully compliant with the regulations. What you can see on the screen there is where Henry's up to with the tail light at the moment that provides both the aft navigation light and also the aft and lateral portions of the strobe light cluster. So again, aerospace performance, but automotive levels of design sophistication. What you can see here is we've got one of the diffusive elements in the fuselage for the green navigation light. Now the idea of this is this light will be embedded in the door and embedded in the chin window here. And when you open the helicopter, it'll draw down to the front as you flick the navigation lights on. It sits behind polarizing filters, so you don't get any stray light where you're not meant to. And it works in conjunction with a primary navigation light that sits just down here to cover the range of the coverage that you can't quite get to with the stripe. But the idea of this is it just gives you a completely distinctive signature when you're flying at night in the sky, and just brings the aircraft to life that bit more than a conventional bulb in a box would do. This airframe has had its base cut down and sits at the actual height that HX50 will sit at on both wheels and skids. So what you can see, I'm 6 foot when I stand up straight, and so the seat is at a convenient height for me and for people that would be a little bit shorter than me. And one of the benefits of our Cyclic, of course, is that you can lift it up out of the way to slide in underneath. So access into the helicopter is comfortable and fairly straightforward. And the first thing that you realise when you get in is that everything that we wanted to deliver in terms of the sort of cosseting flying experience is delivered in spades with this. The digital cockpit looks absolutely fantastic. Okay, let's talk about the GT50 engine for a second. A lot of the effort in the company has gone into the GT50 engine development. In particular, the march towards freezing the final elements of the engine, getting the engine components built, and then getting a phased build of the engine and release to tests. So the way that we're going to test or do the development testing of the engine. So this is the testing that just proves that the engine works. There's obviously a plethora of certification testing that comes later, but this is how we're going to get the engine to the point that it runs and it works and we've proven that it's reliable. The first stage of testing will be essentially to test the starter generator and the mechanical drivetrain that takes the power from the power turbine, reduces it down to 6,000 RPM, and then squirts it into the main rotor gearbox. And the reason for that is those components are actually the bits that are furthest advanced within the manufacturing cycle. Once we've done that and we've proven that the combustor works, the fuel system works, the igniters work, the compressors work, and the bearing and lubrication systems work, we then pop the gas generator module onto the back of the engine, and then we essentially have a jet engine. That allows us to run the whole gas generator module throughout the operating range. It'll function at that point like a jet engine rather than a turbo shaft, but it allows us to qualify the main working core of the engine. The next stage is then to attach the power turbine, attach the drivetrain that we've already proven, and then you have a full GT50. And this is the program that we're working through at the moment. So we're building the components for test on the engine drivetrain. We'll be releasing, well, I'll show you shortly where we are with releasing the other components for the gas generator section, and the equipment is now here to build those parts. So what we have here is the current impeller. Again, you've seen us make that over the course of the last few months, so extremely high grade of aerospace titanium. This meets all of the required tolerances. It's both aerodynamically and structurally where we want it to be for the test engine. We've also developed all of the labyrinth seals and the curvic couplings we need to align the shaft. We've gone from our two-stage cast Blisk gas generator turbine to the single stage bladed disc. So this is the new turbine. You can see the bladed disc in there. We've got a new sealing plate here that also retains the discs in place. And then if you look from the rear here, Josh, you'll be able to just about see the fir trees in there that retain the blades axially. So that's the gas generator rotor, and this turbine itself produces around the 1,000 horsepower that we need to spin the compressor up at 46 to 50,000 RPM. So that's all coming along very nicely. Those components, as you can see, are mature, and the only thing we've got to do is substitute these prototype blades now with the cast ones. The other processes here are completely representative of our production intent. We've now also got the power turbine, the low pressure power turbine. Again, it's moved over to a bladed disc. This has been manufactured using the wire eroding processes that I've just outlined to you, so machined here and then wire eroded. We've cleared the geometrical accuracy that we need for the fir trees themselves, and we're just waiting for the final sign-off on the metallurgy of the fir tree to validate what we've done here. And again, these are the new turbine blades that we've developed. You'll notice a very, very slender, high-performance aerodynamic profile, much thinner than we have started with on the cast power turbine. And then importantly, what you can see behind me is you'll be aware that we've been manufacturing the high-speed reduction gearbox now for some time. So all of these components in here, the gears and the drivetrain components, are manufactured here. And this is the speed reduction gearbox that essentially reduces the power turbine output from 36,350 RPM down to 6,000 RPM on the output drive shaft. And so as this thing's whizzing around generating your 500 horsepower, that pops out at the front here to go up to the main rotor gearbox at about 6,000 RPM. So really pleased with how this is coming on. In the interest of doing this demo today, these are our gears, but we've had some cases rapid prototype because we hadn't got enough capacity on the 3-axis, but we'll be replacing those cases with our own shortly. And again, we're then getting ever closer to being able to get a pair of those strapped together and run the endurance test for the drivetrain gearbox. Over the course of the last month or so, sales have continued to be very strong. We're now up to 830 sales with 673 X's and 157 C's. So again, if you really want one of these there's no time like the present, because the further we get down the development route, the more potential we're going to unlock within our vast sales pipeline. So anybody that's been watching us for a while now, this thing's getting real. You better come and join us. Another bit of good news for people is we announced a little while ago that we will be unveiling the HX50 at the Imperial War Museum at Duxford on the 6th and 7th of December. The 6th is for customers only, and the 7th is open to the general public and the press, anybody with an interest in HX50. When you come to the event, you will be able to experience HX50 for the very first time. You'll be able to sit in the seats, you'll be able to see the lines of the aircraft, use the digital cockpit, and experience what it's going to be like to own one of these for yourself. You'll also get to experience the GT50 engine for the first time and the fully functioning digital cockpit operating on target hardware. We'll also be rolling out the drivetrain and the rotor systems, and of course, as with all of our events, you'll be able to network with our team, the people that are bringing this whole program to reality, and also with the large global community of owners that we've developed around the world. So we very much look forward to welcoming you to Duxford in December.